Testing, testing, testing. Hello.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And we should be live.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at my people. Flood in the chat.
How's it going, chat?
Yo, we got a full
Papa
house
Rider is
tonight.
in the house.
Papa Ryder is here indeed. Odorisk, I see you. Colin, Kali, what's up? And with that, I think it is 7 o'clock. We haven't even gone a minute, but 7 p.m. on the dot. And tonight's guest, as you can probably tell, is down here. His name is Ryder, Andy, Mr. Scientist. He is the smartest guy I know, I think. But yeah, Ryder, you got any?
Low bar.
What do you have to say about yourself? Who are you? Tell the people.
All right, so I think most of the people in the Smash community, at least in San Diego, are going to know me. But for those who don't, my name's Andy, ThatOneRider, Bodner. I've been a member of the Smash community since the beginning of Smash 4. At first was a player for a long time, and then got into doing player and TOing alongside Slicer for quite a few tournaments. We TO'd together, I would say. And then Ultimate came out, kept doing the playing thing, eventually transitioned a little bit more into TOing, also as, and then COVID hit, and now here we are. So I got undergraduate degree and master's degree from UCSD in molecular biology and molecular genetics. And I work at a DNA sequencing company called Singular Genomics, which is like just a couple minutes north of UCSD. So still in San Diego, still doing good.
Cool.
That is dope to hear, homie. The people is winning. These are my people. Is it? We winning out here. The nerds. Getting a good job. We out here, man.
All right, I'm gonna add any more questions from chat, which is number 7. So if anybody in the chat has any questions, general questions about what we're talking about, just let's have a conversation. So whenever you have any thoughts, any questions, let us know in the chat. And then at the end, if we cover something that you might want to know more about, just let us know. We'll add it to our agenda. But for now, as you can see, we got some pretty controversial topics tonight. Not just in the Smash world.
Why is number 5 even a topic? Because we going to talk about it 5th. That's why.
All right, we got a fire show tonight, guys. So, number 1. So, Slaine, you want to start us off?
Yes, sir. Wait, what is it? What's to say about it?
We'll get to it.
All right, so we'll get to it. So, Pyra, Mithra, I don't know if I'm saying their names right. You know, new DLC. ASMR. Yeah, it's a new Smash DLC characters. Brand new to the game, just got released. I haven't seen much gameplay with the two characters, but the gameplay I do see makes her seem very Bayonetta Smash 4-esque. Maybe not as dominant just because of the roster size, hey Toast. But I ain't seen the character lose yet. So it's kind of hard to say a character's not busted when I can just click on random videos out of the masses and she ain't take no arrows? None?
Well, I mean, it's online. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, from everything I've seen, those characters, especially Mithra, are just absolutely busted. Mithra, I saw a good comparison, and I wish I could remember who said this so I could credit them for it. But I saw somebody say that Mithra is the equivalent of Smash 4 Sheik when she was at her height, right? This character, she's fast. She has combo game for days. She has an really underrated recovery and offstage game. Her side B, where she does the little like I don't even know what you would call it. Yeah, sure. That move is nuts. Like, how do you even attempt to punish that, right? Like, I know she technically has a hitbox behind her from what I've seen from all the visualizations, but it's like in practice that punishing that move is going to be so difficult. And I don't know, everything I've seen of this character makes me think that she is absolutely top tier. Number 1 is up for debate. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely top tier.
Yeah, me too. I don't think she's number 1 because we have the likes of Joker, as we know, MKLeo. He's been dominating with that. But we haven't seen Mithra or Pyra online, so honestly, I don't think we have some concrete evidence to say she's number 1 yet. Maybe we might in the next few months, but not yet, I think.
What if I told you MKLeo also plays Pyra and Mithra?
He
I
got
mean,
second
MK Leo
place.
can pick up any character and
Yeah,
play,
it's MK Leo.
right?
What if I told you he's literally in grand finals playing Pyra Mithra? I've
Online though,
seen the.
it's not the
I mean,
same.
yeah, it's online. Like we don't have a really good scale to judge yet, but competition wise, like everyone's adjusted to online. So I guess you could say online skill level is kind of the new baseline determining who's good right now, because everyone's been playing online for enough time to where we can have a good sample size.
Ooh, that brings up a good point though, and this is still Smash related, but not necessarily Pyramithra related. Is just, do we think that once offline comes back, that the online skill is going to transition over to offline, or do we think that the common perception for a long time, especially in Smash, with how just garbage the netcode is and everything, is that all these things that you can get away with online would never fly in an offline tournament. And we saw that for a long time. It was very rare that an online Wi-Fi warrior would actually do well at an offline. You got one or two here or there, but in general, they're pretty few and far between. So do you guys think that offline skill or that online skill will transition to offline?
I think it will for a little while.
Yeah, me
Like
too.
they're gonna come back to offline and then try to. You got to refine your balance because they haven't used that muscle in a while, and we have atrophy. So during that transitional period, I think online warriors will have a pretty good showing in offline tournaments until people regain their offline instincts.
Yeah, I think that's the case with players like Sonics. We know Sonics from offline. Like he was like a top 20, top 30 player offline, and then everything shifted to online, and all of a sudden he's like number one, number two, number three. It just I think it's the fact that he plays Sonic, which Sonic is really good online. So I think he's gonna do
Sure.
like I think Sonic is gonna do well offline, but for a bit, like while people get adjusted to it. So he has to transition with everybody. He has to practice a different play style than this online camping. And no shade to Sonics. I like the guy. He's really good. But that's my way of thinking.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then kind of even bring it back to the Pyramithra. I mean, it's exactly what Slaine was saying earlier. Like, we don't know how this character is going to perform offline yet. I think one thing that Pyramithra does bring to the table is I think we finally have a definitive matchup, at least in the early stages, that we can say Pikachu loses to. Because I don't think you could look at any character on the roster and be like, Pikachu definitively loses to that character. But because of how Pikachu's game plan is like putting multi-hit safe aerials on shield, Pyra just completely nullifies that with her what is it, Foresight, I think the move's called.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
she
her-
completely gets out of that and then can punish Pikachu for just doing basic aerial shield pokes. Like, and if that's Pikachu's whole game plan, which most Pikachu's that's how they play, then you have to radically change how you're playing that matchup all of a sudden. So it's going to be interesting to me to see if that carries over once we go offline, and if we do start seeing Pyramithra as a counter pick to Pikachu.
And that's pretty funny
Okay.
because out of all the top tiers, I feel like they all got nerfed except for Pikachu. That's the only one they didn't
Yeah.
touch.
she didn't get nerfed, but she got a losing matchup.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that's it. Yeah. Um. Speaking of tiers, I want to kind of talk about. I think we can say that Pyra Mithra are top tier because we know we knew Shulk was top tier because we have offline evidence for that, and I think Pyra Mithra is kind of an easy mode Shulk to where you can when you in a situation you want speed, you can be that. If you want a situation and you want power, you can be that. If you want to be more defensive, you can choose that, or you want to be more offensive, you can choose that with Pyra Mithra because she's so fast, and even in her her in Pyro form where she's stronger, she's still relatively fast, so she doesn't really lose much of her perks. So at this point, I would just say yeah, she's easy mode Shulk, and if Shulk is already top tier, easy Shulk has to be top tier, right?
I don't know if I would go so far as to call her easy Shulk. I feel like that's doing a disservice to how broken Dial is on Shulk, and because that honestly that move is in contender for best move in the game, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it gives Shulk
Yeah, like
everything.
at this point, like with
Yeah,
Pyro.
and the fact that he can like switch to shield mode mid multi hit is like one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
But but anyway, I kind of see the comparison that you're making, right? You're looking at like this character that can switch between a speed mode and a power mode, and are they really losing anything when they're in the speed mode? Are they really losing anything when they're in the power mode? I mean, I saw
Yeah,
Pirate kill, I think, a Pyra kill a Zelda with like jab at 140, like third hitter jab at 140.
Oh my god.
I'm like, is that okay?
I'm a Xenoblade. I've never played Xenoblade in my life, and I own
Yeah.
both of them,
Yeah.
or 2 out of 3 of them.
So yeah, I see the point that you're making. It's just a ridiculous character that I think is very much top tier and should be in consideration for conversation about best character in the game.
But also, we have to keep in mind that when it comes to how we play online, like honestly, a lot of online players, how the main difference for me, in my opinion, online versus offline, is the fact that online, if you go off stage, try to give somebody, try to edge guard them, you're honestly, it's harder to hit that because of the lag, the little input delay. So when it comes to online,
little input.
I mean, yeah, little quotation
Massive
marks.
input.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like online players don't usually go off stage try to gimp another player, but you can easily gimp Pyra and Mithra. So when it comes to offline, they're gonna get destroyed off stage. I feel like, but online nobody
Maybe
can punish
Pyra.
it.
I mean, Pyra has the same problem that like Ike and Crom have, right?
Yeah.
Where she does this like really high and then she stalls there for a second before coming down.
They have no horizontal.
And that's really
ability.
easy to punish. Yeah. Well, Pyra doesn't, but Mithra with her side B, that move is busted, right? Like that move basically recovers for free because you're putting out this massive active hitbox while you're recovering, and it's like, I mean, I guess you can like shield it and then try and like punish the regrab, but then somebody on Twitter posted the other day that Pyra and Mithra don't have any. You can't 2-frame them.
Oh.
Like for some reason they're. I don't know if it's like on accident that it was coded that way or maybe even on purpose it was coded that way. But when
only character in the game that can't be edge guarded, busted.
Well, can't be 2-framed, yeah.
Can't be 2-framed, yeah.
Oh wow! I didn't
so it's
know
like,
that.
well, I mean, is the recovery really as bad as we're talking about? Like, yeah, maybe Pyra's is a little suspect, but they have Nest level magnet hands that can't be 2-framed. It's like, what more could you ask for?
Just air dodge from
that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah. Colin is saying that Xenoblade went up in price because of the.
Yeah, Xenoblade 2 is worth a lot of money apparently. And I got one floating around here somewhere with the rest of my Wii U stuff.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find it.
I borrowed it from a buddy, so I don't have it. But
to the moon with that.
Hey, I should have worn my Doge shirt.
Is Sheik like Mithra is Sheik with a sword? Pyra is Falcon with a sword. This is what we want. This is in our game. They gave Sheik and Falcon swords and made them the same character and said, "Go have fun, kids."
They're really good.
Remember when he had 2 bananas? I miss those days.
Anybody in the chat wanna argue with us? Wanna agree with us about Pyra Mithra? I feel like we're all on the same page. She's top tier. I wouldn't say she's number 1, but top tier for sure.
Yeah,
I think she's a potential for number 1.
Yeah, she's potential.
Yeah, I think she is potential for number 1,
but we don't know until we see offline. I'll argue later.
Yeah,
I can't wait for offline Smash to come back, man. Alright, let's see. So speaking of offline Smash, 2GG just dropped a statement that pretty much split Smash Twitter in half, which is they decided that based on concluding evidence that they received, they unbanned Nairo from all 2GG events effective immediately. So no cooldown, no easing them back into the system, no seeing how everybody else felt about it. They said, nah, we're gonna unban Nairo starting right now. He can play and he can show up to our events. Cool.
This is a very sensitive issue, and it's very controversial at the moment. So I feel like you guys are gonna be talking about it in the chat. So give me your opinions. So Slaine, you want to go first?
Sure. I think it's super complicated because it's super complicated because he started out being the defendant, then he was the accusee. It was confirmed he's the victim, but at some point in time, people will see him as both the defendant and the other person. Shit.
The accused.
So it's hard to have for me. It's hard to have sympathy for him because it's like you didn't do what you were supposed to do, but at the same time, you were in a situation beyond your control. So how do we deal with you? Like, how do we work? How do we bring him back into society?
I mean, I think you kind of said it right. Like the way that the story has unfolded around Nairo has painted him in two very different lights, right? You have this group of people that is like, Nairo was the adult in the situation. Zach was a minor. You should have known better. And I think that's a valid point to some extent. I think that, in general, if you're the adult in the situation, you need to act like the adult in the situation at all times, right? You need to be responsible. Uh, but then there's this other part of like, well, Zach has this history of known behavior of where I mean, we don't have to look any further than his relationship that he had with Ally and blackmailing Ally to throw brackets. I mean,
Yeah, he was
so
a
you could,
psychological predator. Like, he was well
yeah,
crafted.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not out of the realm of. I mean, we don't like to think about it, but it's not out of the realm of a possibility for a child to, especially a child that's almost an adult. In Zach's case, when the
Right.
allegations happened, he was like, I think 16 or 17, so not that far from a legal adult. It's not that far out of the conversation to say that he could be acting as the predator in this situation, even though we generally don't think of children as the predator. Um, so it puts Nairo in a very tough situation to judge him for what happened. And unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to know the full story
Yeah.
unless one of them comes out and like says, "No, this is exactly what happened." But obviously, Nairo's not going to do that because he's already put out his YouTube video, which I watched clips of. I didn't see the whole thing of, but he's already put out his whole YouTube video, and he didn't really confess anything. He didn't really describe the situation, what happened, other than say, this was handled in a court or settled out of court or however it ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Zach is not going to come out and say anything, at least not anytime soon. Who knows? Maybe in 10 years he'll come out and say something, but I don't think we should expect anything from Zach anytime soon.
Yeah, but
So,
uh
go ahead.
I was gonna say the thing that really bothers me in this situation is the fact that you see all these people, all these tweets on Twitter. So he was trending today, and I think last week he trended as well. He was trending. So the fact that all these people are tweeting clips of him saying, "Look at Nairo, he was such a good guy. He was a high player. Look at all his setups. Look at all his gameplay." But that's really irrelevant to this, and it gets me mad when people defend him with those clips with that information. Like, bro, we're talking about some serious allegations, and you're here saying, "Oh, he was a high player. We shouldn't ban him." That gets me mad, and I think that's where the little kids, the young people from the Smash community, that's where it shows how inexperienced they are, and that's
Well,
another.
the Smash community has a huge problem with idol worship.
Yeah,
We've had it for a very long time, and idol worship is a lot of the reason why Smash community had its. Yeah, I'll get mine in a second when I don't know my point, but it's why the Smash community had its own like Me Too movement, right? Because you had all these
Mm-hmm.
top players and figureheads, like, well, I'm not going to say their names, but we all know who I'm talking about here.
yeah,
And they used that sort of position that they had within the Smash community to influence other younger members of the community to have underage relationships with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, or at least to put them in situations where that could happen, which is not responsible for the adult to do that. And you're seeing a different side of the same problem here with what you were talking about, which is like people are going back and being like, Nairo was my favorite player. I love to watch him. His ZSS was awesome, and I loved when he switched to Ganon and beat Light or whatever at the whatever tournament that was in the beginning of Smash Ultimate. Like people go back and remember these things, but they're not. They want to unban him for the wrong reasons. They're not giving it
Right.
thought and the nuance that it really deserves in the situation, because it's such a murky gray area. We don't really know. So I would never. If you want to unban Nairo because you believe everything that was put in that document that's been circulating around Twitter and you watch his video and all that, and you side with him, then that's fine. But I'm also not going to fault the people that are like, I'm a little uncomfortable with the situation and I don't necessarily think he should be let back yet. I think that's a perfectly valid thing to think, because again, we just don't know what happened. So it really needs to be treated with a lot more nuance than what a lot of people are doing on Twitter.
yeah. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Mace. What's up, Mace, in the chat?
What's up, Mace, bro? It's been a brick. What's up, fam?
And if
Thank
you just
God.
if you just got here, just joining us, we're talking about the Nairo situation, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with it. Everybody is, but if you're not, let me know. We can get you to speed. But basically, I was gonna say something else. About the document, you brought it up. So, if have you guys read the document?
Again, bits and pieces of it.
I think I read it, but I was too long ago for me to remember it. But I read the whole thing. Go ahead.
It's yeah. So I read it recently again, and I feel like it's so biased because oh my god, that document was all tweets saying okay, Nairo is a victim because of this, and it's just some like third party information. Or Nairo froze in the situation because of this, and it's somebody's tweet about whatever. It has nothing to do with the first party that Zach and Nairo. Because honestly, what happened? The facts are Nairo did when that all thing came out, Nairo did admit to it, and that's a fact. Whether he's guilty or not, okay, we don't know because the information is all secret. 2GG, maybe I think they got the information. That's what they unbanned him, and we haven't. Like the public does not know exactly what happened, and that's where my issue is. So I don't want to just blindly trust Nairo because I don't know him like that, and I feel like nobody should because we don't know the facts.
Counterpoint to what
Yeah,
you said, even though I agree with you, is that I think even though we have what we're considering an admission of guilt from Nairo, but there is definitely the I don't want to say this.
yes.
He wasn't necessary. When you are a victim in a situation, you can sometimes feel like you are the one at fault, especially in a situation as complicated as Nairo's, where he knows that he is the adult. So he might feel like he was wrong in the first place for not stopping something about it, even if it wasn't his fault. But he might not realize that till later. And I don't want to necessarily take that away because I do think you're right in that there are these like third party situations and or these third parties who are saying like, look at all these things that Zach did and Nairo admitted his guilt and all that. But you do have to understand that um, sexual assault and other sorts of really traumatic events can cause these sorts of what you might not think would be like a lot of people's first reactions, and this goes back to the Me Too movement and everything of like, well, why didn't they just speak up? Why didn't they say no? Why didn't they shove them off? And when it happens, right? But that's just not what happens a lot of times in these kinds of assaults. And you need to keep that in mind when you're trying to talk about the situation of like, maybe Nairo was scared of what would happen to him or was scared of the situation that was happening around him. And that was just his first instinct was to do that, even if it maybe wasn't true. I'm trying to be as nuanced about it as I can here.
All right,
Definitely
Toast.
very rounded about it.
I chugged that for you. I'm gonna give
Yeah,
you another
man.
one.
His his situation is super complicated, and I don't think that there is a right answer. So whether we ban Nairo or unban Nairo, I don't think it matters. There's no right answer. So 2GG choosing to unban Nairo, they just chose one. So,
I will say on
we'll
a
see.
personal level that I have agreed with about 90% of the decisions that 2GG has made. So I generally trust their judgment quite significantly, especially more so 2GG than quite a few other major Smash TO groups, for lack of a better term.
Evo.
So,
Talk the
well,
shit,
I
King.
mean,
If you
Evo's its
know,
own
you
can.
know.
Yeah, Evo's its own can of worms. But yeah,
If you know, you know.
I am putting my support behind 2GG, but that doesn't necessarily mean I unilaterally agree with their statement. I just want to say that 2GG is a great organization and that they have shown the capability to make really good decisions in the past, and we should credit them for that.
Yeah, I agree. And what Linky said is also true. More than Evo for sure.
Right, Evo can die. Evo will never be
Yeah,
the same
Evo.
again.
I mean,
Well,
2GG. I mean, I do agree with them. Of course, like we know them personally on a personal level here in Southern California.
yeah, I've worked with Champ and them before at tournaments, so I know them very well.
But my question is, since they already they settled this out of court already, it's all settled. So why aren't they not telling the public like why Nairo should be unbanned? Why is this secret information?
It
Well,
could be
they don't have.
it could be part of the settlement. You never
So,
know.
so
And
they're
that's concerned
never.
a minor, so you never know.
Yeah, they don't have to. It's just tight and simple. It's their personal business. Right? They don't have to. The mistake was the Smash community even knowing about this. That's what the issue was, because it's their personal business. So, like I said, now that it's over, they don't owe us an explanation because it's always been their personal business.
The thing is, though, that if Nairo wants to come back, then this is going to come up, right? Because
Oh yeah,
if Nairo's
definitely.
trying to make
It's
his
gonna.
brand return to streaming, then this situation can't be avoided. So I think I don't know, maybe he's betting on the court of public appeal is going to bring him back. Doesn't seem like it. That didn't seem like the tone that he was taking in his video. But again, I'm not Nairo. I'm not Zach. I don't know what's going through their head. I don't know what they ended up settling on. We'll never know.
We'll never know, and that's the issue. That's the issue for me personally, because I really want to, I want to see if I can trust Nairo in a way, trust Nairo again, because I never trusted him. I don't know him that well. I don't know him at all, but I feel like I don't know. It's a tough situation to be in, and to be part
Oh
of.
well, if you don't know if you can trust him and all, then let him earn it. Like from whatever he does from here on out, if you feel like you can trust him, you can trust him. Just
But another issue.
y'all got to give him that same trust he had once upon a time. He can develop new trust with you.
Yeah, but my other question is why him? Why not all these? Like, why is he the exception? If he wasn't Nairo, if he
This
didn't
is
have
the victim.
No,
What
no,
do you mean?
but we don't know about other situations. Maybe they didn't get a voice. Nairo has a voice because he has thousands of followers, but I feel like he's
A
not
lot of the other
only-
people had thousands of followers too. I mean, they had their opportunity to try and defend themselves if they wanted to.
We don't know that because I mean, I guess
You don't think Zero had a chance to defend himself?
no Zero.
He was bigger than Nairo at the time.
No Zero. He has no. He has
Yeah, had three
no
statements.
grounds
Yeah, that was-
for innocence. I guess
Yeah,
you're right.
But you just touched upon it exactly, right? Like there was always a murky situation around Nairo. He did have cause for innocence, and people were saying that basically since the very beginning. Especially people like Paradin on Twitter who have been behind him the entire time. Like there were people who were arguing his innocence the entire time. Nobody was ever arguing Zero's innocence or anybody else who got accused of that stuff, except for the accused.
Do you think it's
So-
because it's Nairo or because they didn't have a following?
No, it's because Zero did that shit. That's why no
No,
one
I'm
argued
not.
for it.
Let's drop Zero because I
He was
really
guilty.
I personally always
No,
hated
it's-
Zero. But I
I
feel
mean,
like
that's a different conversation. But
and okay, yeah.
That motherfucker was guilty. Like,
No, yeah,
Well,
he has
yeah.
zero grounds
No,
for
no, no.
innocence though.
here's the thing: the things that were working in Nairo's favor to determine his innocence is that the thing about Zach and Ally had already come out, right? By that point, so people knew that
Okay,
Zach
true.
had blackmailed people in the past.
Yeah.
So there was always that like cloud of like, well, is this just another one of those things that Zach is like manipulating somebody else? Because he is. Like, I don't care if that guy's a kid, he is an absolute douchebag. Like, there is no getting around it. But
Okay, I think that answered my question. The fact that it was Zach
Yeah.
because we know his history.
I really do think that's what it was. It's the fact that it was Zach,
Hmm.
and that this was something that had been done before by Zach. So
Yeah.
there was always that cloud of like, well, was it really Nairo's fault? Was it Zach? I mean, this thing happened in the past with Zach. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Okay. Any other thoughts in the
Okay,
chat?
yeah.
What's up, Blitz?
I could live with that. Chat probably lost.
Hey, what's up? It's good to see you. Or I guess
Oh
good
my
to
God.
see that you're still alive and kicking in Twitch chat, I guess.
All right, guys, let's get into the next topic, or unless we have any other last thoughts. But this one's gonna be a little spicy. So what happened this week was, you guys know Best Ness. He could be a jerk sometimes on Twitter, on Smash.gg. So he has some beef with Yes, and then all of us from the left field, this dude Super Striker, he literally he posted a picture of Best Ness's ex with her new boyfriend, and
What if I
yeah,
say
he got
no?
ratioed hard.
He got
Wait,
ratio.
did Yes? Wait, who got ratioed? Super Striker?
No, Best Ness got ratioed. Look at this.
Oh, all right. We got 148 from the Yes. What's the
Let me
likes
scroll
on
down.
the other one? Scroll down a little bit there, Slicer.
Look at
Let's
this.
see the likes on that one.
Can you see that?
Ooh, he really did get ratioed, didn't he?
Get fucked, nerd. Ah, shit. Wait, no.
But
I
honestly,
mean, it's a dick move.
yeah, this is
Dick move.
a little
It
messed
is.
up. It's best Ness. I personally don't like him, but he doesn't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. This is messed up.
I don't know. I'm too old for this shit at this point. I'm 28 years old. This is like, I don't need this shit in my life anymore. Like, this just screams like 18 to 21-year-old Smash community over here, trying to stir up drama, posting pictures of people's exes, being happy with their new significant other. Like, whatever, man. Just let people live. Come on. Keep people's personal business personal.
Yeah, is that Colin?
Red's over here. Look at this guy Slaine. This guy's laughing his ass off over here. What do you got to say about
That's
this,
just
Slaine?
fucking Colin. Colin is fucking with my Discord because he can hear it through the mic, and I can't mute the notifications without muting y'all voice chat. Because Discord is one complete silence. I hate it here. I hate it here. Colin's what fucking with me. I don't bother nobody.
Yeah, Odorisk, I totally agree. Smash people are so petty sometimes. Yeah, they're immature, and that's one of the reasons that I can't relate to the community as well as I could have, as Ryder said.
Bro, whenever I hear Smash drama, I read it, and it'd be the funniest shit. It's like reading
You're a
like a
drama
book.
queen. You're such a drama queen.
It's like reading a book. Like, oh, I am, but it's so fucking hilarious.
It's amusing.
Fucking, yo, you
It's
read this
entertaining.
shit, it's like, come on, like, bro wasn't bothering nobody. He's like,
Right.
oh, remember your ex? Remember that girl? Look how happy she is now. Like,
All because this guy didn't say GG after a set.
all because he didn't say GG after a scrim, not even
Well,
bracket. A friend.
Here's the thing: is like, wait? I thought Yez hopped off on Best Nest after he beat him in bracket. I thought that's what
Yeah.
started this whole situation.
And that was after. I think, I don't know. It's somehow related. I don't know the full details. I don't have the energy
I
to
don't
go
know
through
nothing
that.
people person. I don't know that circle. This is funny.
It's so
Nigga
stupid.
said, "Hey, rent free. Remember your girl?"
Yeah, this is the definition of. If there was ever a definition of rent free, this is the definition of rent free right here.
Man said, "Remember when you tried to clear the air, but you wanted to do it online? Nah. I remember when your girl was happy with that other dude. Like, bro, what?
Like, why you gotta bring that up, bro? Like, come on, man.
Oh my god! Then his homie came to defend him. Like, hey, you can't do that. Hey, bro, ain't you that nigga who got your like? Didn't your sponsor drop you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mr. E, that was Mr. E.
Ooh. You bring in the
You can't
sponsor?
say that. Hey, didn't your sponsor drop you, bro? Like,
No,
why,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, you didn't see
why
that?
did they choose violence?
Slaine sent him in the money.
Yeah, look, Ryder, check this
Ouch.
out. It's the other screenshot. So what happened is Mr. E,
Like, why did-
Mr. E defended Best Ness, and then this other dude
Oh,
was like,
Mr. E.
yeah, this dude was like, didn't you
That's
defend
right,
anti?
his opinions are not exactly the greatest.
Yeah.
What? All right. What did Mr. E say? What did Mr. E say? Let's see it. I'm watching it come up live on your stream. I don't
Okay,
have
there
it
it
pulled
is.
up here.
I don't know if you can see it.
Posting someone's previous.
Oh yeah,
video.
Mr. E came to his defense.
I
He was
mean, the
like,
comment
wow.
is already beyond cringe, but he's not wrong.
Like posting someone's significant other with whoever else they're in a relationship with, motherfucker can't type, is beyond cringe to me. You know, just my 2 cents. Nobody asked for your 2 cents. Welcome to the roast zone.
Sponsored.
He's like that. They said, "Oh, I don't want to hear shit from a nigga who defended anti." He's like, "What? You don't get a conversation. Your sponsor didn't want no conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why he on his ass?"
It's
All
with the
right.
Shy Guy profile picture.
T. So Mr. Lonely. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. The shy guy really.
The Shy Guy.
Oh shit.
Yeah, right. Colin,
Yeah. I mean, Mr. E's first comment is not wrong. It's pretty bad to just bring up somebody's ex as like a hey, look what you're missing out on now kind of thing. It's just really petty.
Yeah,
and
that's
dumb.
super childish. It's,
Yeah.
it's super childish. It's like
Grow
you ain't
up.
got shit else to do with your time, but to fuck with
Grow
somebody
up.
else. Like, grow up, but at the same time, that shit is entertainment, boy. Oh, this shit is hilarious.
B
All
flag
right.
Colin SSB. Odorisk.
So hopefully Colin and Toast can get out of my DMs long enough. We can move on to this next section because I know they got questions about it. So what's up, chat? Y'all know Andy's like super doctor and shit. So we gonna ask Super Doc about this COVID vaccine because I got questions. I know y'all got questions. I got questions about the
Great.
COVID
I
vaccine.
am here to answer. I would love to tell you why you should get
I
vaccinated.
can, hey Colin, I'm gonna murder your children.
All right, so if you guys have been living under a rock for the past year, we've been in quarantine. I think today is actually the day that quarantine started for me, for a lot of people too, across the
Yeah,
world. Um,
right around there. Yeah.
and yeah, so we finally got a vaccine. It came out sometime in December, November, right? And then
I think the first vaccination started in like early January. Yeah.
okay, and then the new president came in. He said we're gonna get a bunch of people vaccinated, and it's happening.
I did it.
He's exceeded that goal,
I did it.
and a lot of people are getting it, but a lot of people are not. It's because of this. When you look at social media, especially Facebook, there's a lot of lies going around. There's a lot of myths and propaganda about the vaccine. So we're here to answer any questions. Well, I'm not here. Ryder's here to answer any questions. He's
I,
the guy who
Like,
knows about
we.
it. We.
I literally have a degree in this, so
Yeah. So any questions? Let us know. Slaine, what's
yeah.
your first
But
question?
yes, and you're the one with questions here. Start us off. Let's see if we can dispel any myths or rumors, or
Let's go.
maybe we
All
can
right.
even
So
talk about some vaccine history.
my question is, knowing the history of this country, black people, and
Yeah, I knew this was
vaccine,
going to come up. Yeah.
why should I, a black man, accept the vaccine?
Well, it's something that we have to. I mean, science fucked up. There's no other way of saying it, right? There was, I mean, if you haven't heard the Tuskegee experiments before, then you don't actually know your Black history, because it was a series of horrible experiments that lasted way, like, when I first learned about it, I was like, oh, this was definitely something that happened like in the 30s or 40s, like World War II. Or like, no, this happened like into the 70s, and maybe even later. It's still coming out that we're finding that the U.S. government was experimenting on with certain vaccines on African American men at Tuskegee University, and they were doing these. I don't want to get too far into it, but it is something that we have to reckon with, and it's something that's a black mark on the history, especially of vaccines, which have already had a troubled history in terms of, like, the very first vaccine was the smallpox vaccine, which they got from rubbing cowpox, which is a variant of smallpox that infects cows, into the skin of a little kid. And then after he cleared the cowpox symptoms, they took the pus from a smallpox wound
What?
and rubbed it into his skin afterward to make sure that he wouldn't get it. And thank God that they were correct and he didn't get smallpox, because they were right about the cowpox being a vaccination against the smallpox. And this was like in the 1700s, so this was a long time ago.
Oh.
But you have to remember, like, there is legitimate fear in a large proportion of the population, especially the African American population, because of the history of what the government's done to them. And I think that that's a really valid fear that people like you, Slaine,
Mm-hmm.
have. And I think that's something that we have to reckon with. What I can say nowadays is that the vaccines that we are, at least as far as I know, and I don't want to say that these things might not still be happening elsewhere, but at least as far as I know, the vaccines that we create nowadays are much more tightly regulated in who they're tested on, what they're tested on before they even get into the human population, if there is even a necessary need for these vaccinations. Like, you don't vaccinate for the cold, right? Because there's a million different strains of the cold and it's not going to kill you. But there has been, and partially because of the data that we got from these Tuskegee experiments, as amoral as it may be, we do now have systems in place to prevent that sort of thing from happening, hopefully, at least in the public eye. But I mean, the history of this country is dotted with some dark times. So it's a fair question, Slaine, about the history of vaccines here. Why you should get the vaccine. is because, I mean, it's either vaccine or COVID, and I would rather have a vaccine than get COVID. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the very, very like basic of it, right? Um, and then we can talk about side effects and stuff if you have other questions on that. But I mean, I have been vaccinated, so I will say personally that I mean I've been through the process. I haven't gotten past the 2 week point of my second vaccine. I just got it last week. Um, my parents are both vaccinated. They were actually in the trials to get vaccinated, and they've been vaccinated since like October. I know plenty of other people that have been vaccinated, and we haven't seen any. There has been people are reporting a lot of pretty bad side effects after the second vaccine, especially if you're getting the Moderna one. Um, but uh, nobody's died from the vaccine yet. That's a pretty common misconception that a lot of people are saying, like, "Oh my God, this person went into anaphylaxis and died." It's like, no, they may have gone into anaphylaxis because they were allergic to something in the vaccine, but that's not because it's the COVID vaccine. That's just because they didn't know that maybe they were allergic to the vaccine beforehand. Um, but at the end of the day, like, talk to your doctor, make sure it's right for you, and get vaccinated for sure.
All right,
Did
there's
I
some.
answer your question enough, Slaine?
Yeah, you definitely answered the question, but like in my mind, it's still okay. I either can not get vaccinated and risk getting corona. I'd be careful, but I'll risk getting corona, or I can get vaccinated and risk human experimentation. You know?
Well, at least I would be part of the human experimentation now, so at least we'd be in it together at that point.
Yeah, nah. I'll wait. I will wait for some results.
I mean,
Well, I mean, I can tell you the results. Like I said, my parents got it back in October. My dad is an ER doctor. He goes and sees these people all the time. He's inundated with COVID patients when he goes to work, right? Um, and the problem is, well, we've gotten better at treating COVID because just as the disease progresses, we learn more about it and we learn better how to treat it, right?
Yeah, I think we're on evolution number 3 now.
Well, we can get into variants later, but I'm talking about like just actual disease, like treatment. When you're in the hospital, what do they do to treat you, right?
Yeah.
The problem at this point, and especially during like the summer months and going into winter and all that, when we were talking about flattening the curve, is that there's so few beds left in a hospital because they're all taken over by COVID patients that if you have to go to the hospital for a reason that's unrelated to COVID, there's a chance that you won't be able to get into the hospital because they just don't even have a place to put you. So you could die of something that normally would be treatable, or at least, you'd have a hospital bed for them to, give you the best care that you could get.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't even do that anymore because there's no beds left across the country. This isn't even just like a state thing, although it is worse in some states than others. So
look what Sweet Meme said in the chat.
Yeah, I see. He's on my ass for no
Bruh.
reason.
Odorisk. So let's address that question. So a lot of people are skeptical about the vaccine because of the side effects. Can you tell us what you know about why the side effects happen? What kind of side effects could happen?
yeah, absolutely. So I already mentioned one, which is anaphylactic shock. That's probably the worst side effect that you can get from these vaccines. Incredibly rare. We're talking like 0.001% of people that get this. And that's not because of the COVID particle that's in the vaccine. That's because of how they make the vaccine. There's certain things in the vaccine that people can be allergic to. If you've gotten vaccinated before, probably not a worry for you because the making of the vaccine, the process of making the vaccine is not that different between vaccines. It can be, but we have mRNA vaccines already. The polio virus, almost eliminated from the world now because of mRNA vaccine. That has its own problems that are also interesting to talk about, but are probably a little bit below the scope, outside of the scope of what we're talking about here. Anyway, I got too sidetracked. What was the original question? Original question was
So side effects. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what are the side effects?
So a lot of people are reporting low-grade fevers, so like 101, 102, muscle aches, headaches, really bad arm pain. That's what I got. I had really bad arm pain after the first one for like 3 days. Like just moving my arm like more than that, I was like, oh, fuck, man, that hurts so bad. But the symptoms usually show up about 12 to 18 hours after getting the first vaccine, and then are gone within 24 to 36 hours. Um, so, I mean, you're looking at like maybe you have to call out of work for a day because you have like a low grade fever, but then by the next day you're fine again. Um,
And I think this is a good thing because it means that it's working, right?
right. So that actually gets into the next point. Good lead in there is that so the reason that that happens is because your body, obviously, our brains work differently than our bodies. And what I mean by that is our brains know that what we're putting into us is not the COVID virus, right? It's a small piece of the mRNA. To get into how the vaccine works, it's a small piece of the mRNA that's inside of a lipid raft, which is basically made of the same thing that your skin is made out of. So it fuses with the cells, deposits the mRNA in there, and then your cells make the protein that's coded by the mRNA, which is just a normal process. We make mRNA from our DNA all the time. That's how we make us. That's how we come to be. The only difference is that this mRNA is what's coding for the spike protein on the outside of the COVID particle. That's the only thing it codes for. It doesn't code for anything else that the virus has. It's like a very, very short piece of mRNA. The mRNA is degraded by enzymes inside your cells because the mRNA that we're putting in there doesn't have certain protective elements that mRNA that is made by our cells does. And that's like a huge red flag to your body's immune system saying, like, this is a virus, this is a piece of a virus, we need to kill this thing right now. So it does, and it kills it really fast. But what that sort of process, your body doesn't know that it's not a full virus. It doesn't know that it's just a small little piece. So it puts out a full immune response. So that fever that's generated by your own body, that those muscle aches that's generated by your own body, those are all generalized immune responses to any infection that you get. If you get a cold, sometimes you get a low fever. If you get the flu, sometimes you get a low fever. Or if you get really, really bad infections, sometimes you'll get a fever. But that's not caused by the bacteria or virus that is infecting you. That's caused by your own body. So that's just a generalized immune response. And then after 24 to 36 hours, your body's like, okay, we've dealt with all of this foreign mRNA that just got injected into us. We don't need to produce this response anymore. And then your fever goes away, your muscle aches go away, and then that's the end of your immune response.
All right, so Colin, I'm gonna chug this whole drink right now. But before I do that, I want to have Ryder answer this important question. So a lot of people on Facebook everywhere they're saying the government is trying to put the vaccine in my body, and I'm pretty sure nobody here believes there's actually microchips in it. So let's go past that because there's no microchips by Bill Gates or anything like that. But a lot of people are saying the government is literally telling everybody to get it. But doesn't the FDA have to approve it? And isn't the FDA not part of the government? Can you explain that a little bit?
FDA is absolutely a governmental agency.
Or, but it needs to have a bunch of trials, right? Before it even gets there, right?
So
or how does it work?
If this was not a pandemic, you would be correct. So because we're in such dire straits, to be honest, I mean, the last count I saw was like 530,000 people have died from COVID. We've had more people die from COVID than like I think the only event more deadly than COVID in American history was the Civil War. So I mean, we're talking like huge numbers of people that have died from this, and because of that, the FDA can grant these things called emergency use authorizations, which I'm sure you've heard thrown around in the news every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what that does is there's usually this really, really long, like 5 to 10 year process for any drug that gets brought to market. It has to go through all these different trials. Where like first you have to prove its efficacy just in vitro, which means just like in a test tube, and then you have to put it in like mice or dogs sometimes or certain other test animals that you might do it on, and then you have to show that it works there, and then you have to do human trials after that, and then after the human trials, you have to continue to do post-monitoring trials for the entire length of time that the drug is on market. So if something happens like 5 years down the line, they can pull it really fast. So there's normally this like really, really long process of doing that. But basically what the emergency use authorization does is go, we are going to die if this does not get out right now. So it is we would rather take the risk of it not working because generally for, I will say for a vaccine, side effects for a vaccine and anything that uh, any long-term health effects for a vaccine are so incredibly rare as to say they are basically zero. Um, so for a vaccine, it's not that big a deal. If this was like a new blood pressure medicine, that would be a totally different thing, right? But basically, you're saying that this vaccine will do way more harm than it will ever, or I'm sorry, do way more good than it will ever do harm. And that's a very logical thought process for somebody who's studied biology, but that's not a very logical thought process for somebody that maybe isn't in that field because you're like, well, you're injecting this thing into me. I don't know what it's going to do, right? So if you haven't studied and done research on what it is, then I can absolutely see somebody being worried about that. So that's what. So the FDA can issue those. They're pretty rare. And I don't think another one has happened in my lifetime, at least, not that I can think of. Um,
Okay, so it's no lizard people making the vaccine, trying to give it to you, and all that.
well, I mean, now I'm going to say some controversial things. Is that I don't actually think it's a bad thing that the government is going to force you to take the vaccine, um, because there's no way that we're ever going to get out of a pandemic if you don't have some sort of like, I think it. I wish, I really do wish, and in an ideal world, this would be great that everybody would just go and get vaccinated when they could, right? And this would not be a problem at all. But you have these big subsections of the population, very often divided by political ideology and religious ideology as well, that are not going to go get vaccinated for certain reasons. And some of those reasons are much more valid than others. If you are immunocompromised, you should maybe talk to your doctor before getting the vaccine. It might not be something that you want to do immediately. If you're a pregnant woman, you might not want to go get the vaccine immediately because there hasn't been very many tests done on pregnant women, and we don't know how it might affect a developing child. Those ones, totally understandable. There's another class where it's like, it's against my religion, so I'm not going to go do it. I personally think, as somebody that used to be in the church and is no longer in the church, that that's a very stupid reason. But I will respect your ability to make that decision, even if I don't agree with it. And I will not force you to get vaccinated. And then there's a third group of people underneath that have very bad reasoning, and I don't respect their decision. And I don't know how much I want to expose those people on
Just
here
say it,
or myself.
expose. Expose.
Uh,
It's toast.
there's people that are like, I mean, you brought it up earlier, like, oh, Bill Gates is putting a microchip in the vaccine, and that's why, or like the people who are like, oh, vaccines cause autism. Like, no, they don't. You're wrong. Stop. You're stupid. Go get vaccinated right now. That's not a valid reason, right? So, uh, there's different levels, and I do wish that everybody was on the level of, yeah, I'll happily go get vaccinated right now. But I mean, it comes back to Slaine's point earlier that he said of like, there's this checkered history here that we have to deal with, and convincing people of that, it can be tough. So
So that leads me to the next question. When do you think like life as we knew it, is gonna come back? Like, what's your timeline?
that's tough. That's tough. This is where we start getting out of my expertise of the whole molecular biology and molecular genetics and all that, and we start getting into a public health question, which is, it's much harder because now you're talking about different groups of people and this becomes a sociology question. I
Yeah, there's
think,
definitely no sociology.
yeah, I think that if everything goes smoothly, which your guess is as good as mine, I think if everything goes smoothly, we should hopefully start to see stuff opening up in summertime. So we're talking May, June, July, hopefully. Maybe a little bit later, August, September, when we start seeing everything really, really open up, at least safely. We don't want to be like Texas and just say like, "Fuck you, everything's open," kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, but to do a safe rollout and have everything uh, go, the danger of opening up too soon is that you undo all the work that you already did, and
Yeah.
luckily the vaccine kind of like raises the floor on where that level can like go to, right? I guess maybe it would drop the ceiling. That would be a better metaphor. It would drop the ceiling of like what the cap of that would be, because once you get vaccinated, they're they're seeing that. I haven't done a lot of research into the AstraZeneca one. I know there were some concerns over that one, but at least the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines are showing amazing efficacy against all of the new variants. Um, in terms of preventing death. The new variants, they're not quite as good at preventing like getting sick, but instead of, being hospitalized and being sick, you would just be at home feeling kind of shitty for, a week or two.
Okay.
So you're moving from like death to hospital to I'm stuck at home for a week or two while I fight this off, to not even getting sick at all. Um,
Okay, I didn't
so
know that. I
I
thought
mean,
it was when they said that the Pfizer is what 95% or something effective. I thought that meant those 95% of people are not going to feel anything, but that sounds more
no,
reasonable.
yeah.
No, it's
So
those
really,
like to fight off the disease.
yeah. So the way that you should really think about it is it's the Pfizer and Moderna are it's even more. It's like 98% at effective at preventing serious serious infections and death. So those are the people that are on ventilators for weeks or months, even, right? And then I was reading it's something like 75% at preventing like serious infections. So those are the people that maybe go to the hospital but aren't on the ventilator, but still have to be like have constant care. Maybe they're on oxygen, something like that. And then the effectiveness drops a little bit more when you get to like just preventing um, like just like flu-like symptoms, right? But I would
Right.
take flu-like symptoms over being on a ventilator for a
Yeah,
month. No question, right? So
bro,
you know,
these the chat is killing me right now. The C minus vaccine.
Yeah, Johnson, the C minus.
The Johnson and Johnson one
Vaccine.
is like Xbox One X Series X's. The
Yeah, he
Johnson and
bought it.
Johnson one's interesting to talk about because a lot of the problem that you're going to see rolling out of the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines is that they're going to be difficult to get to developing countries because they require very specific storage conditions, and um, there are two series vaccine, right? There's actually not a lot of two series vaccines. That's a pretty unusual thing. Um, but the Johnson and Johnson one, because it's a single shot and doesn't require all of those unique storage steps that the other one does, uh, you can take that into places that don't have the medical infrastructure like the United States does, and even then, it's really only part of the United States. But and get that to people so that you're talking about you're talking about going from vaccinating countries to actually vaccinating the world, and that's what the Johnson and Johnson one is going to do.
And 74% is better than nothing. So, yeah.
And again, that's the Johnson and Johnson one. Yeah, it's still 74% at preventing death and about the same as the other ones at preventing infection in general. So
Oh, okay.
again,
Yeah, it'd be fair probably just get the Johnson and Johnson one out. Just get it out there for like numbers' sake, and then over time, as we have less cases, we'll have increased time and less pressure to get the more effective vaccines out.
yeah, the other thing about it is that the COVID vaccine is probably going to be very similar to the flu vaccine in terms of we're going to need to have a booster shot, maybe yearly or biannually, like maybe every 2 years, 3 years kind of thing. Um, we're learning more and more that the coronavirus itself is way more mutable than we originally thought it was.
Oh, yeah, tell
So
us
it's
about
going to
that.
be
What are the variants and what do they mean?
so the variants are basically just where they were first found. Um, that brings up other funny stories about how the Spanish flu. I gotta talk about the Spanish flu because it's funny. The Spanish flu. It it matters for the name. So Spanish flu actually started in Kentucky,
Yeah.
but the problem was that the U.S. knew that. The U.S. knew when it sent soldiers to World War One that there was a flu outbreak at a military base in Kentucky, and they didn't tell anyone. And they sent the soldiers to World War One, and a newspaper in Spain was the first one to report on a pandemic, and the U.S. was like, "You were the one that reported on it. Fuck you! It's the
Wow.
Spanish flu." So that's how that name got named or got around. But anyway, Now we're on to like we have the South African variant, we have the UK variant, both of which are in the states, and especially in states like Texas where they opened everything up, are probably going to become the number one variant very soon.
Rip.
Because they're not more deadly. I want to make that clear. They have the same like prognosis and everything for if you get the disease, but they are much more infectious. So you're much more likely to get it if you come in contact with somebody that has that variant.
And
So
can the vaccine protect you from that or no?
what we're seeing so far, again, I've only looked at the Pfizer and Moderna ones because I got the Moderna one, so that's the one I did the most research into. It looks like they are they're not quite as effective against the variants as they are against the other ones, but they are still very effective. We're talking like 85 to 90% versus the 90 to 95% that they may have been on the other one, right? So just a tiny step down, but still very, very effective. And that's
Okay.
why that brings up the point of like where I said, yeah, we're probably going to need booster shots for this a year or two down the line because we're just going to be constantly seeing we're going to see a Texas variant, I'm sure, or something similar to that. Uh, and yeah, so we'll need booster shots, and that's what the variants are to answer your question. They're just um, where the variant was first documented, essentially.
Survival of the fittest, Ticho.
Yeah, let's go.
That's what there's a country in Europe, Sweden. It was either Sweden or Switzerland. I'm not entirely sure, but they basically went, "We're not going to do anything. We're just going to let the virus run its course." And then like they had a humongous portion of their population die, and they're like,
Damn.
"Whoops! Guess the herd immunity, the natural herd immunity idea didn't work. We probably shouldn't do that."
That was
So
Sweden? What?
Let's go. That boy said Darwin roulette and just sent it.
you guys know what the Darwin Awards are?
Yeah,
The survival of the fittest? What do you mean? Or
No,
what
do
do you
you know
mean?
what the Darwin Awards are?
No.
the Darwin
Oh,
Awards.
they're great. You should look it up. Darwin Awards.
All
That's
right.
a that's something you can talk about on a future thing.
I have a story for Ryder. All right, Colin, let's hear it.
A story or a question? If other people have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Ryder,
Yeah,
answer my question.
Otis asked, he said, how do you feel about people who want to wait for their preferred brand vaccine? So they're promising to get the vaccine, they just want to wait long enough for their preferred brand to be available. Like, how do you feel about those people, like, in comparison
Um,
to everyone should just get whatever's available at the time?
I think that I think that if you were in a group that can get vaccinated, you should go do it. The most important thing right now to ending this pandemic is getting shots in arms. There's no substitute for it. If you are a person who works from home maybe and doesn't go out except to like maybe do grocery shopping, you're following the rules and not having big gatherings of people, keeping it only to 2 or 3 people at a time kind of thing. You're being smart about it. I'm not going to say that you're like doing the wrong thing because you're clearly following the rules, and your chance of getting COVID at that point are very low. um, but there's not such a pronounced difference in between the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines that you should be waiting at that point. And if you want to wait for the Johnson and Johnson one, like we already know that was not quite as good as the Pfizer Moderna anyway. So I don't know why you would wait for that one, regardless. I guess just because you want to only have get shot once instead of twice.
No, I think he was waiting for the Johnson Johnson to run out and then get the other one
Oh,
somehow. Like yeah,
uh,
Otter said he doesn't want the Johnson and Johnson. Some people don't want it, so
yeah. I think that the worst thing that the media did was report on the efficacy of the Johnson and Johnson vaccine, because now puts people in situations like this where they're like, well, I'm not going to get it until I can get the good one, right? Because we all want to make sure that we get the one that gets the most protection. Um, but again, I think that the most important thing right now is getting shots in arms, no question.
yeah, anything is better than nothing.
Me anyway. Okay, wait, I'm reading Colin's story. So
Vaccine tier list.
I think Colin's rolling.
the pandemic hit. He was in orchestra, and we were talking about what the fuck we were gonna do. We couldn't meet anyone. There was this one dumb fucking old lady, and she was like, "Hey, have you guys heard of herd immunity? Eh? Have you heard of the herd immunity? I hate you. If we all stay super close together, then the virus won't affect us. That's how
Bruh.
that works, right?"
Yeah,
I
definitely.
was like, Why don't we just keep meeting and do that? We can take temperatures at the door if you guys want.
I fucking hate that. I hate that companies. It's because people aren't educated correctly in what is going on with this virus. I hate that people are like, we're gonna take your temperature at the door, and if you come up fine, then you can come in or whatever.
That's
That's the
irrelevant.
stupid
Yeah.
fucking thing because it totally disregards people. A lot of people in our age group, this like the 0 to 30 age group, that are mostly asymptomatic when they get the virus, and then they pass it on to somebody who's outside that age group, and that person dies from you not even having symptoms but still having still spreading the virus. It irks me. It irks me so much when they're just like taking your forehead temperature with the gun. I'm like,
Yeah.
that means fucking nothing. Like, you might as well like lick my forehead for all that's worth.
Oh, I love
Ryder, have you personally vaccinated anybody?
No, I haven't like signed up to vaccinate anybody. I've been vaccinated, so
Uh,
I'm standing by what I'm saying. But
Old
I have
Risk, you
not
want to be the first
vaccinated.
one?
I don't think I can. I'm not allowed. I could
You're not
sign up to do
allowed.
it.
It's a needle with some magic liquid in it.
Wait,
Yeah, it's really not that hard. You literally
Ticho
just
has
have
a
them in
question in the
arm.
chat.
What's up?
Ticho has a question in the chat. I don't know if you can read it.
So wait,
Yeah.
so you
You can. That's called being an asymptomatic carrier. And we found actually pretty early on in the pandemic that younger people are getting the virus, but they're not exhibiting symptoms of it. So you're still creating viral particles, but your body's doing a good enough job at fighting it off so that you do not display any symptoms. But you're still making enough virus where you can, like when you're talking and breathing or sneezing or coughing or whatever, you can actually still spread it to other people. So that's why I'm talking about this whole like taking your temperature at the door doesn't mean anything for this virus. This isn't a virus like this isn't Ebola, right? Like that's the one that I always use as like the most like obvious virus. Like this person is literally bleeding out of their eyes, their nose, their ass, like every orifice that exists, they have blood coming out of it. That's Ebola. So taking the temperature at the door for that person, you're going to see the blood trickling down their nose before their temperature shoots up. It doesn't matter at that point. But for something like this, you're gonna taking the temperature especially for a young person, doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, I know a couple that. So basically, the girl, she got really sick with COVID and she went to the hospital, and then her partner, which was a male, he was asymptomatic, so he tested positive, but he didn't feel anything throughout. Like he never felt anything.
I know AC Armando, he got COVID twice actually. He got it way back. This is kind of to answer question. He got it back in like February or March of last year, like kind of around the beginning time of it, when we knew that Corona was circulating.
Genesis.
But we didn't know.
That's when Genesis happened.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit after Genesis.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, he got it, but he was asymptomatic, or he had barely any symptoms. He was like sick for like a day or two, and he was fine after that. And then he got it again a few months ago because his sisters were not following the rules, and he lives with his sister, and they actually were asymptomatic carriers, and he got it from them. So
no twins. I got him. Oh, that's okay. Stop. That's funny.
Tell him the
That's
Houston
funny.
story. I just know Houston had it. I don't know any more details other than that.
Yeah, and talk about a young, healthy guy.
Yeah,
that dude's a literal model.
He's
So
a god.
he can get it, then anybody can get it, right?
He beat it in
He
like
beat
2
it in like
hours.
2 hours. I'm going.
I believe that.
He's
I
just
actually-
producing antibodies. Just
Yeah, I actually know people on all sides of the spectrum. I know people who got it and were asymptomatic. I know people who got it and got really sick from it, and I do know one person that died from it. So,
Oh wow.
I mean, I've seen everything from it.
Dang, any last minute
Cool.
questions about COVID? I know Linky was saying, was it possible that you had the coronavirus back in January 2019, I think?
Like December 2019, January 20. That's actually a funny story because I was in Barcelona during that time, and that's when it was like we originally thought that the virus came over from China, but it actually went from China to Europe to America.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in Barcelona when the virus was in Spain, and Spain was one of the hardest hit countries, so I got out of there just in time.
Wow.
So it was possible, but probably unlikely unless you had been traveling during that time.
Yeah,
So
Linky, that might have been it. You just never tested for it.
you could, if you think you got it, you can go get an antibody test and see. It if you were an asymptomatic carrier, you probably don't have antibody. That's the other thing about the coronavirus that's really weird that we have really only seen in like a very, very few other viruses is like if you get a coronavirus infection that's not a massive infection. So if you're just like feeling kind of icky for 2 or 3 days and then you clear it up, you actually don't keep those antibodies forever, which is really, really rare. There's not very many other viruses that happens with. So to answer Linky specifically for your question, if you're only feeling kind of sick for like 2 or 3 days, an antibody test wouldn't tell you. But if you were home for like 2 weeks with a fever almost every day kind of thing, lying in bed, and then you would still have antibodies to it, most likely. So you could get a test and find out.
Yeah, Linky, I remember that. I remember you were super sick on my couch. I think I have a picture. Any other questions
Maybe
about
ask Linky before.
Any other questions for Ryder?
When can you kiss the homies goodnight again? Bro, get vaccinated. You got your first one. Then as soon as 2 to 3 weeks after your second vaccination, you can kiss all the homies.
Odorous said, "Can you get it during December and January? He was in Hong Kong, and shortly after he left, somebody got confirmed."
Yeah, if you were in Hong Kong, absolutely, you could have got it in December, January. We know that the birthday of COVID actually and my birthday are almost the exact same day. I think the first COVID case was November 12th. We found out that the first reported COVID case was November 12th in Wuhan. So if you were in Hong Kong during the time, there's a good chance.
Oh, okay, my bad. Apparently, let's see. Who did you say said Linky asked that question, and I gave credit to Odorous. GG's.
Yeah. I saw Odorous' question, and I was like, yeah, if you were in Hong Kong, for sure there was probably cases around that time. O2 on the reading comprehension skills.
Reading for comprehension. We take those.
All right, I'm gonna use the bathroom. You guys hold down the fort.
All right, we're probably just gonna roll over into the next topic. We're about an hour and a half, and we can go for a little while longer. Let's go. So, Mr. Ryder, young Andy, how you doing, man?
Oh, what the fuck?
Calling
out of here. Why do you not have this as a private thing?
Because Kyle was the previous guest.
Man, I'm doing good. Working away. Super busy these days.
Are you single? Are you dating anybody?
Single and ready to mingle, dude. I'm the hottest bachelor in town. I'm vaccinated, so
let's go. Everybody can get the antibodies.
there you go. There's your reasoning, Slaine. You wanna get out in the club scene again. I don't know if you're clever or not, but
let's go. I'm with it. So
you wanna
in the dating scene, there's been a lot of controversy between the communities, the various communities.
all right.
And my roommate's dog is crying and shit. Yeah, so in recent community news, there's a new dating preference or sexuality, however they want to address it, that's so-called discovered, called super straight. And what this means is you choose to be your birth gender, and you're only attracted to other people who choose to be their birth gender. And the communities are in uproar, saying that super straight is everything else phobic. And this is the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life.
It's a little weird. How about you weigh in first, Slaine, and then I'll give you the biology answer.
I'm gonna go get this dog. I'll let y'all go first. How do you feel about super straight people? Do you know what super straight is?
No, yeah, I saw the tweet about it. Basically,
okay, so super straight.
I saw the chart. Yeah, that you're a cis male or cis female, you're attracted to only cis male and female. I guess that's super bi. I think that's what they call it. So that means that you're not attracted to trans male or trans women, like trans male, trans female. So if you're not attracted to anyone trans, people think that you are transphobic, which is inaccurate in my opinion. I feel like people can be attracted to men, women, but a trans woman, I mean, she's a woman. But if you're not attracted to a trans woman, I don't think there's any issue with that, right? I don't know. What do you think?
I think we are combining two different. Oh, puppy. I think we are combining two different questions together that maybe should not be combined. I think that the first one is super straight, a legit sexuality, and then I think the second one is it transphobic to not be attracted to trans people. And I think that those should be split up probably. Anyway, continue on with your point.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
so
that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
So the first part is super straight and legit sexuality. So Slaine, you wanna? Because I'm not too familiar with this. You wanna explain it better?
You explained it to me while you were gone. Do it again, Slaine.
So it's being super straight and legit sexuality. So this is kind of something that I've like. There wasn't a name for it when I was saying I was it. So this is kind of something. I feel like this is a misrepresentation of how I actually think. It's so dumb. So before being super straight was called super straight, right? We learned that sexuality, move, is a spectrum. So there are different titles for different people attracted to different things, and so on that spectrum, you have to look at yourself. I am cisgendered. I am a male. I am I'm a male who is attracted to females. So on the spectrum, that's where I lie. Is cisgendered male attracted to females. There wasn't a name for it. I was just a combination of all of those titles. Now they're saying that the title for that is super straight. And they're saying that in response, I feel like it's in response to trans people's movement. So it's so fucking weird because, as I said, by definition, yeah, I'm super straight. I'm a cis male who is attracted to cis females, but that has nothing to do with trans people because they're not in the equation.
Oh, okay, I see. I mean,
I think.
Uh-huh.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
I was gonna say,
Go.
no, yeah, that makes it more clear. So I'm the same sexuality as you, Slaine, and it's I don't think there's a problem with not being attracted to non-cis females, right? I mean, I don't know why people think
No.
it's transphobic. I don't know. It's just one of those things that Twitter tries to make an issue about something when there's not an issue. I don't know. That's how I feel.
Well, okay, so we're combining the questions again, which is what I was trying not to do.
Okay.
But to answer
because one directly involves the other.
So super straight. Okay, let's go back to what Slaine said earlier about sexuality being a spectrum, right? So it's not widely accepted anymore, but one of the first things that I learned about when I was learning about human sexuality and human gender and chromosomes and all that kind of stuff is some of the first people to describe human sexuality were the Kinsey husband and wife, and they basically had it on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 is what we are defining here as super straight. You are only attracted to, I'm going to mostly say female because I myself am male, but you're only attracted to the opposite sex. You have no, like to the point where you almost find people of the same sex repulsive. Like it's that right. Level of super straight, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
and then on the other end of the spectrum, you are completely gay or completely lesbian. You find thought of sexual attraction to the other gender repulsive to you, then most people are not at the extremes. It is very rare to find people that are actually a 1 or a 10 on the scale.
Yeah.
Most people fall in the 2 to 3 range, which is like, and I think that most people wouldn't have a problem saying this, is like, I can look at a picture, I don't know, pick a attractive male athlete or something. Cristiano Ronaldo, that's like a common one that people go with, right?
Okay.
I can look at Cristiano Ronaldo and go, damn, that guy looks good. Like, there is no question in my mind that that is an attractive person, right? I'm not necessarily sexually attracted to them. But I mean, maybe
acknowledge
to,
it.
but yeah, but
Right.
I can acknowledge it and look at that guy and be like, that guy looks good. Like, when he takes his shirt off and I see that 8-pack abs, like, damn, that guy looks good, right?
Sephiroth.
So that's gonna be, yeah, Sephiroth. That's gonna be like in the, like, that's closer to like probably a 2, and then getting into a 3, and then as you get closer and closer to the middle, which is a 5, you have those are true bisexuals, which is I am attracted to both males and females equally. So 1, 5, and 10 are pretty rare. If you think of it, I wish I could like draw out a graph, but it's like very little of this one, and then it goes up, and then it goes down a little bit, and then it goes up again, and you go back down. So you have this binomial expression of it, where most
Right.
people are 2, 3, or like 7, 8, 9 kind of thing, right? And very few people are 1, 10, 5. So I think super straight is probably just a different way to describe that, like, one side of the spectrum where it's like, I mean, to pick up a yeah, if you're under 18, close your ears now, but like, the perfect example is like, if you're watching porn and you see the guy in there and that completely turns you off, then you are a 1. But if you're watching porn and the guy's in there and that doesn't necessarily, you're not necessarily opposed to that, you start sliding down the scale a little bit. And then same on the other side, right? But just with the opposite gender. So, I mean, it's a crude way of going about it, but it's a pretty effective
Yeah.
way of describing it. So, um, but then now we're bringing the idea of the, like, is it transphobic to not be attracted to trans people? It's a tough question, because if we're supporting the idea, which I am a supporter of, that a trans woman is a woman, a trans man is a man, then not including them on that scale does present the idea that maybe it is transphobic, because now, even though you're saying that it's performative, you're not actually living by that standard, right? So I can see why people would say that, but I can see now also why people would make the point that maybe it isn't transphobic, because you may not necessarily, that information of knowing that beforehand might make you not sexually attracted to that person anymore.
But how I
'Cause
think,
that could be different.
Well, see, in that example, that implies sexuality is still a straight line. You know, you have men
It's
born
not.
men, men born
Yeah.
women, and then how attracted are you to the other sex on that scale is, which is still based on the concept of a man being born a man and a woman being born a woman.
Right,
Well,
which is
once
also
you,
why that scale is not widely accepted anymore. But it's a
yeah,
really easy intro into it. But you are bringing up a really valid point in what's wrong with
yeah,
that scale. So keep going.
yeah. So it's gonna be, so now we're not on that scale anymore because trans people exist. So clearly we're not on that scale anymore. So how do we adjust? Well, now we got to say, well, we have men who are born women. I mean, we have men who are born men. Who are they attracted to? Women born women, women born men born women, or men born men. It's not. It's not straight versus. It's not cis versus trans. It's a man who was born a man and his choices, and then you have a man who was born a woman, their choices. A woman who was born a woman, her choices, and then a woman who was born a man and her choices. And all of those dating graphs or scales pretty much are parallel to each other. So just because you're a man born a man and you date based on your own choices, it just means your scale is parallel to a trans person's.
I think the problem that I have with that explanation, Slaine, is that when you start bringing in things like man born woman, then you are instilling in the idea that a trans woman is not a woman because they were originally born a man. So if you want to fully subscribe to the idea that a trans woman is a woman, then you need to completely even forget about the fact that whatever their assigned gender at birth was doesn't even exist anymore, and it should be like it never even happened. You should assume that they have been a female since birth because they are. That's what it is to say that a trans woman is a woman.
But see, that's kind of where that's where the that title of transphobia comes into play, because if you don't agree with them, then you're transphobic. But that's the way it is. It's like I can say I can agree that trans women are women, but I said in reality, you were born a man, you transition into being a woman. I can accept you as a woman, which is your choice to be a woman, but you still live that life of being born a man and then being, transitioning into a woman. So regardless of what we say, regardless of how we feel, like that happened. So you can't get mad at someone who's they have their dating profile and their dating preferences. If they don't want to date you based on what happened, it's it's not a phobia. It's not a bad thing. It's just their personal choice.
Yeah, and that really comes down to one of those things where it's like, honestly, just keep it to yourself at that point. Like, if that's something that bothers you, just keep it to yourself, man. Like, don't don't say anything. Don't like if that's something that puts you off, it's better just to internalize that and be like, that's a no go for me. I'm not going to do that anymore. Um,
But the
it
though,
doesn't
like,
exactly solve the problem, I will
yeah,
say. It's more of just a stopgap. But I really do think that we need to stop thinking about it. Again, it really comes back to that whole point of if we are saying that a trans woman is a woman from birth, no matter what their assigned gender was no longer, no matter how long they presented as the other gender, we have to accept that from birth that they were whatever gender that they are presenting right now. So I think that's where the idea of people calling it transphobic is, because you're not accepting that they have always been a woman, even if they were maybe born a man, or vice versa, that they were always a man, even if they were born a woman. So I think that's where the transphobia comes from. I think that's where the people who are accusing people of transphobia comes from.
right, of transphobia.
Yeah, Dicho, I don't think I would. I don't think. I think transgender is like they're trying to shift away from being a mental illness because I know
It's
transgender
not a
people.
mental.
It's not, but in the past, just like gay people, lesbian people, they got persecuted. They were called sinners. Um, so I think we're getting more better understanding. We're getting more. I feel like no, it's not, definitely not called mental illness. It's just somebody
Wait,
thinks.
Trump's just killing people. What?
Yeah, what's going on?
Gender
Oh,
dysphoria is being as
yeah, this
isn't
guy has to.
yeah isn't the definition of gender dysphoria just thinking that you are the other gender?
So yeah, that
Hold on,
sounds,
I want to make sure that I'm saying that right before I.
and that has a better
Yeah.
connotation than mental illness.
So gender.
Yeah, I think
So I'll
that's
just
when
read.
you're
I'll
like
read the
when
definition.
you're a boy, but you're raised a girl, so you just really think you're a girl.
Well,
I think
I'll
that's
read the definition. So gender dysphoria is the feeling of discomfort or distress that might occur in people whose gender identity differs from their sex assigned at birth or sex-related physical characteristics. Transgender and gender non-conforming people might experience gender dysphoria at some points in their life. So it's the same thing. Gender dysphoria is basically it's
it's
definitely not a
before you
mental illness.
transition. It's when
Yeah,
when you get the feeling that you were born in the wrong body.
right, which is from for a lot of people from birth. So um, yeah, it is not a mental illness. Schizophrenia is something entirely different. It has nothing to do with your gender identity.
Yeah,
Um,
it's different. So let's go back to talking about super straight versus is it a sexuality or not? Because honestly,
I'll say yes. Yeah.
okay, but let me explain what I'm thinking. So
Go ahead. Yeah.
for example, let's say somebody doesn't like tall women, somebody doesn't like blonde women, but they still like women. It's the same thing. It's a characteristic. Somebody may not like trans women, even though they are women, of course, and blonde women are also women, but it's just a preference. I feel like. Don't you guys think it's just a preference?
It's a tight line to walk.
It is,
Um,
but
and
there's
I get the point that you're trying to make of
It's
the
really
like,
not
okay, it's
though.
not his
If,
preference.
if I don't want to date a trans woman, that doesn't also mean I don't see a trans woman as a woman.
Yeah, I think calling it transphobic is probably over the line. I don't think it's necessarily transphobic, but I do think that we have to really reevaluate what we think. There's definitely a problem. I personally do think that there is a problem if you, and I've said this already twice, is that if you really subscribe to the idea that a trans woman is a woman, then there is a pro. I don't know if it's a pro. I don't want to say problem because I don't want it to imply like it's a negative thing. But
Right.
there, you do have to have some sort of internal reckoning with yourself of why am I, if I truly believe that a trans woman is a woman or a trans man is a man, why am I not attracted to that person? Um, I do think that you have to have that conversation with yourself, and that's going to be something that's different for everybody. In terms of is calling yourself super straight transphobic? No, you can be. Uh, you can just say that I am attracted to only women, and that is a perfectly valid thing to say.
so
Or I'm attracted to only men.
only cis women. Is that? Can we say that?
Yes, absolutely. That's right.
Well, cis implies that you wouldn't be attracted to a bi person either, right?
No,
Or no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking
a
I
trans woman.
misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
Yeah,
it's
that's what
complicated,
I was
but
saying. Like a month ago, right? A month ago, you could say, I am a cis man, I'm attracted to cis women. And that statement is completely fine.
yeah.
But now there's a name for that. There's a title, which is super straight. But when you
is there? I
say
think that's just
I
a
am
Twitter thing.
super
I don't
straight,
think that's actually a defined title, right? No psychologist has ever come in and said super straight is a thing
yeah,
in
it's not.
the
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not licensed, and it's definitely not warranted by the many. But it's trending. So this is what's becoming. Now you're saying, yeah, people are saying super straight as a two-word synonym for the statement, I am a
Super
cis
straight
man.
implies the fact that there might be a super gay, which is pretty funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Colin nailed it on the head. I think it's a 4chan thing made to trigger people. I think that this is really just bait, but it is an interesting way to get talking on the subject of it, right? And it's another thing that needs a lot of it's transracial. It's another thing that does need a lot of internal thought, and I think that it's yeah. I've said my piece. I've said my piece. I've said enough.
All
It's
right, want to
fucking
move on to the
strong.
next one?
Yeah. So we're gonna
Unless
move
you
on to the
guys,
next. Go ahead.
I was just saying, unless you guys have anything else you want to add to it.
Okay. Nah,
No.
we're good on that. So going from relationship topic straight into another one. This one is something I was thinking about. It was like from Monday because I saw a tweet and I forget who it was by, but they were pretty much saying how um we should normalize having weddings, but not getting married. Like not the official title and burden of marriage, but still having a ceremony with your significant other that signifies like you want to be with them forever.
Okay, that's valid.
And I was like,
I mean,
how pathetic have current generations gotten, bro?
oh, you're against this.
You're against.
Okay.
I'm against this.
Wait, you're
Tell me why.
against being together without marriage? Or what do you?
Okay, wait. So I'm gonna go back to the actual questions. Right? Have humans evolved past the need for marriage? And it kind of ties into the other topic. So I think that humans do not need marriage anymore. That's what I'm saying. But in addition
Yankee
to not needing
underscore
marriage,
SSB cheered.
I also think
X1
that
is that
people shouldn't
Rider's
have weddings.
SSN.
That's where that other tweet comes into play. It's like don't have weddings, and like yeah, people don't need marriage, but you can't have a wedding and expect no marriage after the wedding. That's stupid.
What do you even say? Like,
It's two
say that
different
again.
topics.
Say that again.
So the question, right, is have humans evolved past the need for marriage? Do we need
Yeah.
marriage? My opinion, no. We do not need marriage. We have evolved.
Okay.
Like kind of related, but not directly related to that topic is topic number 2. I saw a tweet that current generations want weddings. Yeah, they want weddings, but not marriages. They don't want the legal and emotional, ties.
You're talking about it from a specific legal sense here. Of like, you go to the courthouse and say, "This person is my spouse.
Yes.
Legally, we are married."
Yeah, people
Okay.
want to have the wedding, like the event, but they don't want to have the legal event of the signed documentation saying you are married.
That's a little odd to me because you get benefits from being married, but at the same time, it's also a double-edged sword because if you divorce, then that's a whole different issue you need to deal with. I could see people saying no to the church weddings, and that's like on a personal level. Like me and Gabby, we're not gonna get married through the church. We're gonna get married legally, um, and I don't see a problem with that. But why are people not signing the document? Is it because they're scared to get divorced, or why?
Well, there's a lot of. I mean, I think. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, the chat's saying it perfectly. There's a lot of socioeconomic aspects of getting married, right? Like you're filing taxes differently. If you have kids. I mean, that's another thing that marriage is gonna be different than if you're just a single parent. Getting like loans for a car or a house or anything. Like, there's a lot of things that marriage, a lot of benefits really that marriage provides from a financial standpoint. So to not get married legally is, I mean, everybody's business is their own business at the end of the day. They can choose to do what they want or not. I don't really understand why you wouldn't do it if you were committed to like having the ceremony and love the person that you're with, then why wouldn't you, go through with the last part? But I guess if you don't want to do it, that's cool too. I mean, it's on you really at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just another case of people wanting everything. It's like you want to have this ceremony that indicates you're gonna be tied with this person for the rest of your life, but you also want independence and freedom, to choose to live your life however way you want to, regardless of how anyone else has to feel about it. You can't do that when your life is tied to someone else, but they want both.
I don't really get the feeling that that's what it is, to be honest. I just get it. I don't know. This is. Go ahead.
I think it's more of a statement they're trying to make. They're trying to make a statement that, oh, society, capitalism is telling you to get married, and we don't want to go by your rules. I think that's why people are doing it. I don't know.
No, I don't think it's because of capitalism or money. It's like the emotional attachment. People don't want to be married and have, like for a woman, they don't want to be with a guy for the rest of their life, and then it ends up being a dead end, and he's just a bad guy. So now they're afraid of relationships and emotional attachment, blah 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 blah. And guys don't want to get married because if it doesn't work out, then they lose half their money, half their stuff, and their rights to their kids. So why risk it? So I see why both sides don't want to be married, like physically, like tied to another person. I don't know.
It's weird. It's weird. It's this feels like one of those things that very rarely ever comes up, to be honest. Like, again, if you're with the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life and you're having a ceremony to announce that and to make it official, even if legally you haven't signed the documents that say you're married, like, it doesn't really matter either way whether you sign those documents or not from like a life perspective, right? You're still going to be probably living with this person, you're still going to be sharing everything with them. you're going to be buying cars and opening joint bank accounts and everything together. Like, whether you're legally married or not doesn't change what you're doing in your day-to-day life. It might change like big decisions later on, but then again, those are more financial based than anything else. It's like, I don't know. This just feels like something that's so rare and so needlessly complicated. I don't know.
Yeah, if people
Right.
are having this ceremony, then I mean, like we've been saying, they should sign. But the people who are not having the ceremony, who don't believe in marriage, I mean, that's their choice. I agree. They don't have
There's
to be
different. There's
married.
more than just going to a courthouse and getting married. There's also common law marriage, right? Which is where if you and the same person live in the same house together, like there's a couple other rules, but basically, if two people live together for a certain amount of time, they're just considered common law married,
Mm.
and then you don't have to sign any paperwork or anything like that. It's not like in the old days before getting married was a legal thing. You wouldn't go to the courthouse and say that we're married. You would just announce it to your village and just say, "Hey, me and this person are married now," and that was the end of it, right? Like,
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I feel like back in the day, our parents, like that used to be you need to get married. Everybody needs to get married if you're together. But now it's becoming more like you don't really need to get married. And that's a trend that, or do you guys agree or not?
Yeah, that's the original question. Is do you agree that people need to be married, or do you think people have evolved past the need for marriages at all?
well, marriage is an inherently marriage itself, and the idea of marriage is an inherently religious thing
You're back.
that shows up in almost every religion, but is especially prominent in Christianity, which I will talk about because that's the one that, again, I grew up in the church, so I learned about it.
Right.
And the world is becoming more secular. And because the world is becoming more secular, you're seeing a lot of old traditions that are primarily rooted in uh, religious backgrounds are falling away. And marriage is one of those things. Um, but I think marriage will always be around in terms of, nobody's ever going to be like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have this big ceremony and then we're not going to actually like go to the courthouse and sign the documents. Like that'll always exist. But but it's like what Slicer said, it's going to move away from churches and go more towards, hey, we're celebrating being together. And this is basically a big party to tell you that this is happening. But it's not going to be at a church anymore like it traditionally used to be.
Right.
So I think maybe saying that we've evolved past the need for marriage is a bad way to put it. I would just say that marriage is evolving. The idea of marriage is evolving. So it's just maybe not religious based anymore.
You're marrying me, son. Wow, that's crazy. That's trade.
That's not a breaking
Let me
news.
go to Canada first, and then you can come to America.
All right, guys. Any last questions for us?
Yeah, Chad. We threw our topics, so I went 0-2 on a marriage. I ain't never getting married, bro. I refuse. I got too much to lose.
Wait, don't you get benefits from the Navy or no?
Yeah,
Well,
you
I'm not in
absolutely.
the Navy no more. Yeah.
But
If you
okay,
did get married in the Navy, you would have.
If I would have gotten married in the Navy, I probably still wouldn't have because I would have known I got to get out of the Navy sooner or later, and that means I have to divorce because I would lose my benefit from marriage. Well, a divorce is terrible for men, so
You wouldn't lose You would lose like maybe your monthly stipend, but you would still get plenty of other things while you were married.
I
And why would
lose.
you? You don't have to get divorced when you get out of the Navy. What does that mean?
Yeah,
You
because so
don't
look, if,
have
if the
what are you
sole
talking
reason
about?
I'm getting married, look, the sole reason I'm getting married is because I'm in the Navy and there's benefit. Well, eventually I'm gonna get out
How
of
are
the
you're
Navy.
getting married because you love the person that you're with and not for the benefits? Can I be idealistic a little bit here? Like,
No, because I can love you and not marry you.
yeah.
So
Oh,
why
okay.
marry?
Wait. I think I see what you're saying. You're not going to rush into marriage because you're in the Navy, is what you're saying.
No, I'm
Like,
not. I'm not
you're
gonna
not going to
marry
get
at
married
all.
because you're in the Navy.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not gonna marry at all. And then Hazi said that I should marry because in the Navy I get money. I was
No,
like,
you
nope.
don't.
Yeah.
I was asking.
But I'm going. I'm saying like when you first started in the Navy, I'm saying that you wouldn't rush into like a marriage just because you were in the Navy to get the stipend, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Because then that makes sense of it. You're saying like, no, then I'd get divorced when I got out of the Navy. I'm like, what the fuck? That doesn't even make sense. Like, why
Yeah,
would you
no.
do it in this then?
Yeah, no, no, no. I would
Okay,
not,
okay.
not even being in the Navy could sway me into marriage.
Slaine, are you older than me or younger than me?
I am 26. I'll
I'm
be
older than her.
27.
You're both babies. All babies.
All right, let's go.
You're 27, aren't you?
28.
28? Oh, dang.
Ah, Gramps over here.
Gramps.
You guys are boomers.
We almost 30, boys.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Rip.
We damn near 30. I feel it in my knees every day.
Bro, I have my left knee is so bad. So bad.
Bro, my acid reflex is so bad. I can't eat
Yo,
pizza
my
before.
acid reflux is starting to kick in, and
It's
I hate it.
bad.
Forward to everybody in.
I gotta have a few more years of heavy drinking.
That's
man.
why I drink these now instead of beer.
I've definitely moved to drinking like more ciders and stuff now because I'm just like I don't want to deal with like the shitty hangovers that you get the next day or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, this is just the worst feeling. I was like, you drink, and then the next day, the back of your throat just feels just
So bad.
disgusting.
And the clubs are coming back, so we gotta prepare.
Yeah, you gotta get vaccinated so that you can go to the club.
Oh yeah, I got my appointment.
You did?
Yeah, next
Good job.
Tuesday.
Linky said in the chat, so
Yeah,
proud of you,
Linky too.
Linky, as well.
Yeah, good job, Linky.
Almost just 23. Yeah, we can go.
Your next Slaine, you got to sign up.
Yeah.
I've been vaccinated. I didn't get any side effects from mine at all. A lot of people were saying they did.
I probably won't, cause like honestly, like in the year of COVID, I've worked in a hospital. I've been out without my mask a few times. I've never shown symptoms, and I don't think I've ever contracted COVID. Well, no, I've never shown symptoms, but I'm pretty sure at some point I've contracted COVID. Like it's just the odds of it. Like, I've been in so many places. Yeah, I've been in so many potential places of getting in contact with it. I probably already had it. I've just been a no shower.
Go get an antibody test. See if you got it recently.
Yeah, I'll go get an antibody test.
It's basically a fucking pregnancy test. All right,
I
it's
tell you,
very easy.
The antibody test. If I don't have the antibodies, I will get the vaccine.
You should still get vaccinated even if you have the antibodies because we know, as I was
No,
just
I
talking
have
about
the
earlier. No. I got to finish this one because as I was just talking about earlier, we don't know if the antibodies stick around if you get just a minor infection. So you got to go get vaccinated still.
I might have time, and I'm willing to risk it. Or is there a question for me?
I don't. What more do you want me to say? I got vaccinated already. Both my parents got vaccinated.
Would I
I'm
take an
living it.
vaccine? I'd rather die. I'd rather die.
COVID vaccine. God.
Listen, my
Thank
first
God.
medical appointment will be to check for cancer. All right, there's nothing
Hey,
coming before that.
And over in cough, I stick this needle in your rectum real quick.
Like I already have the exam scheduled. Like on my 30th birthday, I'm gonna go to my doctor, whom I haven't seen in my entire life pretty much because he's back in Memphis. But on my 30th birthday, going home, and I'm getting my prostate exam, and that will be the first and only time I get an anal exam.
We're really talking about people's stuff now, aren't we? We're really not that far.
Oh, we were just talking about the anal test through the COVID anal test. You heard about that one?
Yeah, that's what Otis is talking about.
Oh,
He's like, we're like,
That's not a real thing. That's not a real thing. Don't fuck with me like that. That's not a real thing.
it was a real thing.
No, it's not.
Was it not? I thought
Could
it
be.
was in China.
They were detecting it. They were detecting COVID in wastewater. So I guess if you want to call that the anal test.
What he's like, take it up the butt or die. See, no, those are not my choices. It's
I'm
take it
frozen.
up the butt or risk dying. I will absolutely risk dying. They're taking a fucking COVID needle in my ass. It's not happening.
All right, any last questions? Sorry.
I'm back. I'm back. All right, I froze for a second there.
Okay.
All right, yeah, we just hit that 2-hour mark, so we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna wrap it up. So once again, shout outs to Andy for coming through to the stream, dropping all your big brain scientist knowledge. I definitely learned a lot. I'm sure the chat learned a lot. I'm gonna get my antibody test, and if I don't have them, I'll get the vaccine. That's a promise.
I am not gonna click
Wait,
that,
wait.
Colin.
I'm gonna click it.
safe?
Classic. It's safe.
It's Rickrolling or something.
Yeah.
The classic.
Got it.
Colin, 2014 called. They want their meme back.
All right, guys.
Shout out to chat. Y'all know what to do. The VOD is gonna be up on Hazi's YouTube channel. Go ahead and leave a like and a comment. Show some love to your boys. All right.
All right,
We definitely
Ryder,
wanna
any
get
last
the Slaine
words?
episode.
I hope I convinced everybody to go get their vaccine because the sooner we get all vaccinated, the sooner we can bring locals back, the sooner we can kiss the homies goodnight. I mean,
That's true.
but in all seriousness, it is really important that everybody goes and gets their vaccine as soon as they're able to. So please go and do that.
Are we rating AF Wagers?
Yeah, so we're rating my
Alright.
boy AF Wagers. He's playing Sonic and
Everybody
Legends Battle.
spam get vaccinated in this chat.
Yeah, everybody in
Get
this chat spam
vaccinated.
get vaccinated. All right. Or
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thanks for coming, bro.
And good night, everybody. He's gonna actually when we raid, he's gonna play a cool video. I'm gonna make him play it. So watch it. All right. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night, guys.
Everybody get vaccinated.
Taco Bell's queso
Oh,
bread
no.
is back with its cheap
What is
I got
this?
the ad. I got the ad.
You're right in the wrong place.
What?
Hey, me, that
Hey guys,
What do you mean?
welcome to the stream.
No,
No, not you. I meant Colin and
bro.
Slaps
I'm
came in
being
here
nuts.
like get vaccinated.
Okay. So this dude is pretty cool. Wait, who's in here?
Colin and I don't know who this last is. But